Welcome to Bon Jovi Discussions. Today I have my friend Leigh from Yorkshire, all the way from the UK. How are you doing?
I'm good. Nice sunny afternoon over here.
Yeah, it's a cold and rainy Saturday over here.
Oh, that
Mm-hmm.
sucks.
No, it does. Anyway, so we are going to talk about this gem today. Very underrated album, good album, obviously. 7800 Fahrenheit, which was the band's second album, released on March 27th, 1985. It was produced by Lance Quinn and recorded from January to March of 85 uh, in Philadelphia, I believe, at the Warehouse. Um, so this is produced by Lance Quinn. And in different magazines, I have a few different magazines, and I've seen in interviews where John said that he didn't think that Lance Quinn was the right producer for this album because um, the band didn't know where they were yet, what they were doing, and they were just kind of going through a lot in their personal lives and didn't know what they wanted on the album, what they wanted off, and so they just didn't think it was a good collaboration. Which I thought that was kind of because in other interviews, they speak highly of Lance Quinn. So what's your view on the album overall?
Overall, I really like it, and I always have. And it's one of the first albums I ever bought as a kid. Probably appreciate it more now than I did like 20 odd years ago. But definitely agree, it's definitely underrated.
Yes. And what I think the most unique thing about this album is that they were so if you compare it to the debut album and to the Slippery album, which debut was their first and the Slippery was their third. If you compare both albums, this album was kind of just almost to that Bon Jovi sound, but it wasn't quite there yet, to
Yeah,
what we're accustomed to from Slippery on. They're almost finding their sound here. And what I really like is Richie's guitar work. I think Richie is just phenomenal on this album, and he's more. I think this is the album that he's the loudest on guitar and very. You hear more of Richie on this album than you do the other albums, if that makes sense. Obviously, you hear him a lot in the other albums, but this one, he's very eccentric and very out there and loud, and all these cool different guitar solos. And John's vocals too are very powerful, and you can tell that they got a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? The more JBJ sound compared to the first album. That makes sense. You know, very
yeah.
great vocals. So,
I, I
eh,
think it's a good album. I like the album. No, people don't like it. I like it.
yeah. Well, the thing is, John hates it, and
Yeah, well, I'll tell him. Tell him too. It's a good album. It's
exactly.
not great, but what
Yeah,
is?
I think I appreciate because it's a baby album. It's an album where they were experimenting with different, which we'll talk about, and I think they're just trying to find their true sound. And there are some weird parts on this album, which we'll talk about. There's some songs on here that
Yeah,
you can't really make sense of what it's about, what have you. But overall, it's great. Album artwork. Let's talk about. So they named the album 7800 Fahrenheit because it's the temperature of melting rock.
yes.
And so for some weird reason they they named it that.
Yeah, I'd love to know whose idea that was.
Yeah. But the artwork is kind of cool, with it's definitely an 80s album. You can definitely tell it's an 80s. I'll just by judging from the cover. I also like, the band in the back,
Yeah. Oh, look at the big hair.
yeah, the big hair and the
Yeah.
dated pictures, and the sleeve work too, whether it's in the CD or the vinyl, all these different little photos of them, like kind of like memory photos. But so yeah, and they obviously toured this album for a brief period. They were openers for Rat I don't know if they were continuing with the Scorpions. I think the Scorpions was obviously the first tour, but I thought they did some shows for the Scorpions for the 7800, but I could be wrong on that. But they did definitely open up for Rat. And I wasn't born yet, but I wish I could have experienced that tour. Like just to see them open and just see how good they were, and proving the world.
That would have been awesome.
That
I
would
think
have
I
been,
was, what was it, 85? I was 3.
yeah. I I would have been -8.
-8. Wow.
Yeah. So, well, let's start going track by track here. The first one is In and Out of Love, which was the second single. I'm surprised it wasn't the first, but it was the second single released in July 1985. It was written just by John. And this is the song I wish they would still do live. Even back in 2010 when they were talking about bringing some songs back on the Circle tour. I wish this was one of them and they never did. But I really love that intro, and it's a perfect intro to the album. They're saying
Yeah.
in and out loud, and then all of a sudden it gets louder than the drums go. I love that. Uh,
Yeah. Top track. It wouldn't have necessarily been out of place on Slippery. I don't think. I think it's the you can hear the sound. It's a Bon Jovi song
hmm And
without.
I think this should have been a bigger hit than what it was. If
Absolutely.
you're a music critic and you look at this album, you may not like the rest of the album, but that In and Out of Love is definitely hit
Stand out.
material. Yeah. And John's vocals in the verses, and the verses are so freaking good. Just like confident and just goes with the flow of the song. And I love his scream in love when he sings love before the final chorus, right after the solo.
Yeah.
I love that part. Um, and then what else is funny is the band talking with each other before the guitar solo.
Yes.
Yeah,
It
and then
just it gives you an idea of how much fun they were having, and
yeah,
they were close, and it comes through in that.
yep, exactly. The only weird part of this song, it doesn't ruin it, but in a weird way, it makes it weird. Is at the end of the song when they,
Totally know where you're going. I know what you're gonna say.
your daddy is. Wait, just how old are you
How
anyway?
old
Oh
are you
no,
anyway?
do I have that right? Let me see
Yeah.
here.
How
Yeah,
old are you anyway?
yeah. So I mean, like in today's world, that would
Yeah.
not.
Not good. And
That would
I think I have read somewhere that John doesn't like that. He
not.
obviously later on has picked up on that being a little bit weird and a bit maybe not quite right. And sort of kind of regrets putting that bit in there, which I can see why.
Yeah. Um, I've heard him say that too. He's like, that's probably the stupidest thing he's ever put on an album. Like I said, like in today's standards, you cannot put that anywhere. But it's weird because back in the 80s, that was kind of like I don't want to say a normal thing, but it was like not frowned upon if a 25-year-old man was dating a 17-year-old. Like look at Warrant's song, or not Warrant, Winger's 17.
Yeah,
Like,
it was much more not acceptable, but it happened. It was, girls would dress up a bit more to look older to get into gigs
yep, fake
and go
IDs.
run it. And it like in the video for the track, they're hiding from all these girls, aren't they, running? And yeah, it sort of makes sense, but it does
Yeah.
make me giggle every time. Every time I have a little giggle.
Yeah. And obviously none of them were, pedophiles or anything like that. I'm not saying that. It's just it was weird to put in the song though. And I think, first of all, John should have never put it on there. I know he regretted it, so but like I don't know what all the other band members thought or Lance Quinn. And I read something, I think it was Lance Quinn that pushed that part too in the
Right.
the song. Yeah, but back then though, it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't, which it should have been, but it wasn't. But anyway, so you mentioned the music video, and I think that's one of the very first, because if you look at the music videos on the first two albums, the debut and 1700 Fahrenheit, the videos make almost no sense. And I think In and Out of Love was like the very first one that, because the first video was Runaway, then She Don't Know Me, and then into 78, they get into Only Lonely, which that didn't make any sense. So those first three didn't make any sense. But In and Out of Love was like the very first one that made any sort of sense. And like you said a little bit ago, just a song that was about them having fun and so that's what they're doing in the video. They're having fun on the boardwalk, running away from all these girls. And it's actually the first video you kind of see the band on stage interacting with an audience and with each other. And so yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, good. It was a good, definitely the first good video.
Yeah, I think they're wising up at this at this point. Um, and so the whole meaning of the song, I think it's just about having fun in your youth, having fun as a band, and just having fun in general. That's what I think.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any deep. It's just a fun,
there's
and
no deep.
yeah, I think no disrespect. I also think it could be taken in a sexual way too. Being with all these different girls, and in and out of love.
Absolutely.
Oh, so what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite lyric of the song?
Oh, I don't. I don't think I do. I can't think of any bit that stands out
Okay.
more than.
I love the verse. Young and wired, set to explode in the heat. You won't tire because baby, you're born with the beat. I don't know. It's so catchy, and I love that part.
Yeah,
So
it is. I love it.
so let's get to the next track. Price of Love, which was actually it was a fifth single, but it was only released in Japan, I think at the end of '85. It was written just by John. This is actually it's probably my favorite song, at least my favorite deep track on the album. Um, I love that intro with the drums and the guitar. I thought that was pretty unique. What's your take on the song?
Another another good. I enjoy it. I like it. It's it's not my favorite.
Yeah, it was definitely a typical '80s song. This whole
Oh
this
yeah,
whole
the
album.
whole it screams 80s.
Yep, yeah. Um, though I think this whole song is about it's in a way it's kind of hard to understand, but I think it's more in two different ways: having an affair with someone and paying the price for it, or also that love isn't easy and it's one big game, and like there's a line, practicing his love lies, he runs to his wife, and you're left holding the knife. Obviously, that's about an affair, you know. So, like I said, this album kind of has a lot of songs that you don't really understand what the meaning is.
Yeah,
Some
I
of them,
think
you're like, you don't know where they're going. And I think that's one thing John regrets about this album is that the songwriting was good, but it wasn't the greatest. You
no,
know.
they rushed, didn't they? What 6 weeks rushed and wrote
Yep.
it, did it, and put it out, and
Yeah. Because I think the goal of the game was just to get an album out there following its little bit of success of the debut. And I think they wanted to keep up with that. And I think they were just trying to create good songs because you could definitely tell the songs were there. They're so good. The lyrics, not quite as JBJ. We know how JBJ writes. Obviously, after Slippery and On, all great songs. I think they just kind of rushed through this. But so, anyways, maybe that's why I don't understand the song entirely. But my favorite lyric is "No one said there'd be nights like this. Risk your life for a stolen kiss." I thought that was pretty clever.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
Let's go to the next one. Only Lonely, which was actually the first single released in April of '85. And like I said about In and Out Love, I'm surprised that one wasn't the first one. Only Lonely was. Um, it, what I really like about this one too is that it was written by John and David Bryan.
Yes, I do. I like David's inputs when he does a bit of songwriting. It always goes well.
Absolutely. And another great, and this album is full of great intros, except for Tokyo Road, which we'll get to that. But I really love the keys and the guitar. You know how it starts with the da-da, I can't do it, and then all of a sudden the guitar comes in, and I really love that. And John's vocals also are
Uh,
incredible on
Top
this.
notch.
And I'm surprised this wasn't a bigger hit than what it was, because this is pretty good too. In 2010 when they were bringing some of these songs back, I was really glad that they brought Only Lonely back on the set list. Unfortunately, for only a short period of time, but it was good. I don't know if you heard the special edition of 7800 that came out in 2010 when there was a
No,
live track. It's like a sound check track, and it was from I think it's from the 80s, and it's really good. I love it.
to go find that.
Yeah, you do. I think you can find it on YouTube. Um,
Absolutely.
so we were talking about the music video earlier, kind of on this, how this song makes no, or the video makes no sense. That you wonder who the guys were that were after the band.
Yeah,
Like what did they do for these guys to be after them? You know, and then the broken heart with the girl. Like that intro to the video is like, what? It made no sense.
it doesn't tie in with the song or the
And
music or anything. It just
no,
you watch it with a completely different song playing.
yeah. I think after this video, I think this is just speculation, but I think after this video came, I think John was like, I'm gonna have more control on these videos.
Yeah, absolutely.
God, yeah.
Sure.
Um,
With the next one.
so with this song, the whole meaning I think it's about is that it's obviously you're lonely, afraid to let go of the past and moving forward. And but other than that, I can't determine what the song is about. I don't think it was fully finished for you to understand what it's about. Yeah, that's also the beauty of music too.
Yeah, there's no great meaning
No,
to it.
I think it's just another '80s song, and I do love and I love the drums too. That da-da-da-da, I got this time bomb ticking in my head. This time I think she's going to blow. How can I say to get away when I just can't let go? And then John screams in the go, and then goes into the solo.
I do like a good John scream. He
I
screams very well.
Yeah, especially I mean, there's a lot of songs on this album where he does,
Yeah,
and I got to think, but on the debut he didn't scream as much, but he really did in this album,
yeah.
which I think they knew that how good it sounded, and they wanted to keep up with that. So the next one is King of the Mountain, and this is written by John and Richie. And this is one of those songs too where you listen to it, but it doesn't. You don't like this is one of those songs I don't ever go to listen to. But if I have my music on shuffle and it comes up, I'll listen to it. But I do like the bass. I love the bass in that intro, and then all of a sudden you hear the drums coming in, the dun dun dun, dun and then obviously Richie comes in with that, and I think that's the one thing I really love about the song is the guitar hook that Richie does on this song. The dun 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 dun, dun
Yeah.
I love that part.
It's,
Um,
it's the only saving grace of that song. I generally tend to skip it when it comes up. I do listen to it sometimes, but it's often for me.
yeah, and I also love the background vocals of the band in the pre-chorus and the chorus. That's one thing that really shines on this album too, is the way the band had a lot more backing vocals, especially in choruses on this album. And this is one of those songs. As far as Meaden goes, I think it's all about feeling like they were on top of the world after their first album. Connection with, in the first verse, you kind of get that sense of connection between the fans and the band. And the chorus is all about being the best. And then in the second chorus, no one believing in you to achieve your dreams. But at night, you realize that you can because you're doing what you love to do. So I think it's definitely about the band feeling like they're on top of the world, king of the mountain, and just going after their dreams. I think that's what it's about. Um, my favorite line of the song is, "You spend your life working 9 to 5, is like doing time. Boss man says, 'Hey boy, you'll never be no good. With the night, there's a magic in the air that makes us come alive. Tonight's the night they can't put you down. No one could.'"
Yeah,
So I feel like that's not letting the people, negative people, is telling you no, you just don't care what they say. You're gonna prove them wrong. So I really appreciate the lyrics in this song more than the actual song itself.
yeah. Maybe I probably could do with listening better
Yeah.
to that.
hmm Is there anything
Lyric.
you want to say about this track?
No.
No?
Like I say, I generally skip it. I've never really got on with it. But in listening to your synopsis, I might go away and have a bit of a listen and listen properly to the lyrics. See
Yeah.
how I feel. That why not? Give it a
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Next one is Silent Night, and this is the fourth single that was released on October 22nd, I believe, of 1985. It was written by John. Obviously, this is probably one of their very first romantic ballads that they've ever done and released. I love the key intro. They hear the da 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 da, and then all of a sudden the drums come in.
It's
The boom boom. I love that.
ca-
Uh, what,
good.
what, 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 do you, what do you think of the song?
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's definitely one of, I know it's a lot of the fan favorites on this
it.
album.
It's great. And this is one that definitely sort of 20 years ago when I was first listening, I probably skipped it or wasn't that bothered. But then coming back a bit older, really, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And the vocals are just amazing.
Oh,
And
especially when he sings "Don't Let Me Go" and he's
uh,
holding that note and go. Oh, that makes the song really good.
yeah, it's fabulous.
Yep. And Richie, I think this is one of my. Is it when I was a kid and I was 8 years old, I was discovering Bon Jovi, and little by little, I got each album, and I remember getting 7800 down the road, and I first listened to Silent Night was my favorite song, and I would play it over and over and over and over on that album. Now my favorite song on this album is Price of Love, but I really do appreciate the song. But I think Richie's guitar solo is probably my favorite solo on this album.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I love it. The music video, um, this one kind of made sense. Just a trouble, and that's what the song is about. A troubled couple, ending a relationship, and they're going through essentially a last night together, with not having nothing to say, but kind of just having reflections on their past and what they could have done and all. And so the video reflects that. I really like how they showed the band too on this brick wall. And as a kid watching the music videos, because I have that VHS, so I'd watch it over and over. Um, when the couple goes to the wall and it is like an outlet, I think, and then all of a sudden it turned into a brick. And so I think that also symbolizes that they felt trapped with each other. I don't know. That's just my speculation, but I always felt that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the line "It's too late, held up in love without a gun" is a really cool line in the song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's another one where you can see where they're going
Yeah,
You know, they're almost there. They've almost got it.
yeah. But that
Songwriting, everything.
that line alone, though, how it's too late, held up in love without a gun. You know, it says so much because it's essentially, when you let your guard down for someone and you love them unconditionally and you spend all your time with them, and all of a sudden you're brokenhearted at the end and you have no defense and nowhere to go. And I love that line. It, it's all about vulnerability, and that vulnerability being ruined by heartbreak. So that's why I really love that line. It's one little line, but it says so much. So the next one is Tokyo Road. It was written by John and Richie. The song is okay, but this has the weirdest intro. I know they're paying because they really broke out in Japan at first, and so I know they're paying tribute to Japan and all that. But like that whole intro was so weird. Like it creeps me out as a kid when I listened to this album or that song. And it's like I growing up, I always thought it was South. She was saying South Florida, and then I think maybe it was someone corrected me on Twitter one day, and I was like, no, 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 it's this. And let me see if it's actually on the. Yeah, it doesn't even say it on the um, lyric notes either. So it's all about interpret. Thank God for Google now because I realize it's like, I gotta look it up now because I won't do it justice if I don't. But did you think? Is it just me? Or did you think the intro was weird too to that song?
I love this song.
Even the
It,
intro?
I, I have no idea why. Like you said, obviously the Japan, a bit of a tribute. But it doesn't go with the song. It doesn't. I don't know why. But it is. This is my favorite song on the album.
Really? Okay.
Tokyo Road. You would play it over and over and over, like you with Silent Night when you were a kid. I love it. Absolutely love it.
So that so forgive me because I'm not Japanese. I'll probably pronounce this wrong. So it's Sakura Yayoi no Sara wa Mi wats asu kagiri I. So, and then they do it again. Well, someone's gonna message me on online and say you brutalized that. But so that's what they're saying with that intro. But when I was a kid, I thought they were saying South Florida, South Florida. I'm like, what does South Florida have to do with Tokyo? And lesson learned.
Yeah, it's an old Japanese poem
Right.
about cherry blossom.
Oh.
What cherry blossom has to do with
See,
any?
I didn't know that till right now. So that's
Um, I learned somebody sent me it on Twitter. Might have been Chamin.
hmm.
Anyway, yes, I remember talking about it with somebody, and they sent and said, "Yeah, yeah, there's this poem. Go find it." So I did, and there you go. Poem about cherry blossom, old Japanese traditional,
Hmm.
or at least that's what I found. If anybody out there knows different, I'm sure they will tell.
Well, I learned something new today because I was wondering what that poem was about. But anyway, so the song that has great verses, I think it's a great song for the band coming together instrumentally. I think it's probably one of the best ones on the album where the band comes together very well. Um, as far as the whole meaning goes, I think it's just their love for Tokyo and paying tribute to, their respects to making it big in Japan at first. I think it's also, like in the verse, it's about war, then partying, and then you go to. I think this is speculative, but before that guitar solo, I think they're talking about prostitution there. Uh,
Absolutely, she was
uh,
wearing nothing but a red light.
yeah, let
It
me.
spells it out.
Usually, I know these lyrics by the back of my head. With nothing on but a red light, and with a smile, she got so close to me, whispered something about midnight. I didn't understand a word she said, but it felt so good. She knew that I didn't have any money, but baby, I knew she would.
Yeah.
So at first you think, okay, well, she knows that he doesn't have any money, but she still loves him for him. But then
Eh, I'm
the
thinking he knows he didn't have any money, but she'd do
when
it anyway.
I knew she would, yeah. So yeah. These songs, or this song isn't really a typical Bon Jovi lyric.
No,
Uh, you
no,
know, especially that line, snorting whiskey, drinking Coke. Obviously, we know some, we won't get into that. But it was a time when no one would die and there wasn't a care. Like, makes you kind of wonder what they did back in the first two albums. Um, I do like the line in a time in a place in a world they forgot lives the heart of me, a part that just won't die.
yeah. It just, I don't even know why it's my favorite and why I love it so much. It's like you said, the lyrics are not, they're good. The songwriting's good, but it's not amazing. And it just, the whole thing, just hearing it play, the whole thing when it comes together and the music and Richie's guitar's awesome. Um, it just makes me smile. I
Yeah,
just love it.
it's definitely a good song. I think it would have been bigger if it would have been on Slippery. I think in a way, I think Raise Your Hands was kind of similar to Tokyo Road in a way, just the
Yeah,
style and instrumentally. But next one is Hardest Part is the Night, and you're gonna love this one. That it was the third single released on August 21st of 1985, only in the UK
yes.
to promote the album. And it was written by John Richie and David. I actually love this one. It's probably my third favorite on the album. I love that guitar intro, that and then you get the keys, and you get John's vocals in the verses. It's definitely a typical '80s song. And it's kind of like that. Once you get into that first verse, you just hear the keys, and then you hear John singing. It has that, to me, it has that mystery vibe to the song. And Tico's drumming on the song, it's so good and it's so tight. I love it. Um, and one last thing too is the background vocals in the chorus. I love how the band comes together, and the
Yeah,
background.
you really do start to hear how the band come together and sing, and that sound that is so, no, you know it as soon as you hear it. It's definitely, I love
Mhm.
it. Hardest part. I
Yeah,
don't think I'd ever actually noticed that it was written by David as well, so that would explain why I quite like that one.
yeah, I believe so. Yep, yeah. On the liner notes it says David Bryan as well. I thought so. To me, the whole meaning of this song is, well, I think the beginning of the song, it's, life on the street, the ugly world at night. And then before the final chorus, I think it also refers to fame. So let me look here. There's a Yeah. So that's what I think the song is about. I think it's just about life on the street. Um, yeah, more of a socially conscious song, I think, in a way. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, it's probably, it's got more meaning, or they've tried to put more meaning into it, definitely, than some of the others earlier on in
Yeah.
the album. Um, and we know John likes to get in with this socially, you know,
Oh, yes.
yeah. Um, yeah, it's definitely up there with one of the better songs on the album for me,
Absolutely.
and you
I
can
really,
see
I,
where they're trying to go with it.
I like the line, in the heat of the street of the city, a young boy hides the pain and he walks so tall, trying to hang on, but he knows he's going down again. I know he's going down, and then it goes.
Yeah,
I love the way that John sings that, and I think that our whole part just gives you what the song is about. you know, trying to make it in the world, and you know, it's hard to get by.
Yeah, but you're gonna try anyway.
Yep. Next one is Always Run to You, which is written by John and Richie. Um, Another song I love the drums too. Um, no disrespect, but I think this song is more of a sexual song, in a way. You know, always wanting the woman that he knows, the woman that he wants because she's got what he needs, and all these other women don't. But then I also have to contradict myself too, and I think it's also about she's got more to offer than just sex. She knows how important he is, and you know, it
Yeah,
takes more
into
than a night to satisfy him. You know,
yeah,
yeah, I think
yeah,
that's what that song is about.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't know what this. That's one of those songs.
It's one of those. What are any of them about on this album? They're very, as you said. I think they, especially towards the end, just scribble some words down, and you know, we'll make a
Yeah,
song out. Not necessarily mean much.
no. My favorite line is, "She's got something I want, man. It's something I need. It takes more than a night to satisfy me." I just like the way that it's sung, but it's so stupid. I mean, I don't want to say it's stupid, but it's so. It's a corny song, and
So teenage boys writing in the
it
garage. It's not
exactly, it has no depth
finesse,
to it.
no
But
finesse to the songwriting.
nope. We'll go to the next one. I don't want to. So this one's weird because on some albums it has "I don't want to" in parentheses and "to the fire." Then on some albums it just says "to the fire." So if you ever see 7800 in a store or something, or on vinyl or CD, look at the back because sometimes it'll just say "to the fire" and not. See, on my vinyl it says "to the fire," but on the earlier vinyls it said "I don't want to" in parentheses "to the fire."
Oh, I'll have to have a look at what mine says when I find it, because it's the I still have the original CD that I bought
Mm-hmm.
20 odd years ago. It's not a remastered. Oh, I'll have a look.
The original. So anyway, so this has the that weird intro. I don't know if it's the keys or the drums too, but it's so weird, and I just don't think it really fit into the song.
No,
So it's
it
one of my favorites
doesn't
on the
fit.
album. I feel like this song would have had more potential, but like you were mentioning earlier, I think this album was just so rushed, and I think it was one of these songs that were just let's get it done and boom. So I don't think it was ever fully finished or really thought of. You know, I think it was just recording it done with.
Yeah.
I think it's another socially conscious song too. You know, about not wanting to make the same mistakes as other people have in society, and then that innocence dies as we become members of society. So we're brought up into this world thinking of innocence, but as we become adults and into society, you know, we, as the song goes, fall into the fire, and our innocence goes, and so forth. Make sense? That's how I interpret the song.
Yeah, sounds good. I
Yeah,
haven't really thought about it as much.
I was not really thinking about this song very much. Yeah,
Um, I like it. It's all right. It's good. It's not poor. It just I don't listen to the. It's another one where I don't really listen
yeah,
to the
it's
lyrics
just
and
there.
just sit there and yeah, it's cool. That's about it on
Uh,
that
the,
one.
the last one is Secret Dreams, and this was written by John Ritchie, David Bryant, and I believe a guy named Bill Grabowski. Let me make sure. Yep, Bill Grabowski. So this is the only song where they had one other songwriter come in. So obviously this whole album was a band effort with them writing songs, and I like that Tico co-wrote this
Yeah,
song too.
the only song that has Tico credited as a
Yep,
songwriter.
yep. It's not one of my favorites either on this album. I think uh, I think they could have found another song to close out this album. It's just I feel like this one was rushed as well. but I do love the fun in their vocals and their verses. Um, that part's fun. Um, I think this whole song is about that fantasy girl. It's a sexual desire type song, and like
Yeah,
any other young man would write about. I think that's was
yeah.
the
It,
goal of the
we,
song.
and so I suppose it's this is the first time I've ever sat and chatted with somebody about this album and all the songs, and it does kind of fit the whole album. A lot of the songs are very with the girls and maybe the sexual things and chasing girls, girls chasing them. It's quite a theme throughout the album, which I'd not really noticed.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think a lot of these songs are just what a normal young man thinks about, and
Full of hormones. I mean,
yeah,
how old are they all? 24-ish.
John would have been 82, 24.
Yeah.
Wait, 21 to
20,
23. You
20,
23 right in this, turning 20. Yeah.
yeah. So full of hormones.
Yeah, full of hormones and
Had a bit of success. Oh, on top of the world.
yeah. So, overall this album is good. It's just not the greatest album they've ever done, obviously. John's embarrassed by it. We'll probably never, ever, 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 ever see any of these songs live again, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate because, like I said, in 2010 when they were doing the Circle tour, John was doing some of the songs for the diehards. And they brought out. I'm trying to think of songs from this album. They brought out Only Lonely. I believe they brought out The Price of Love, if I'm not mistaken. Um, let's see here. Only Lonely, obviously. Tokyo Road they did. Um, and that was it from this album. And then I think on the first album they did Shot Through the Heart. And that was it. But
Yeah.
but it didn't last long because here in America it's all about the hits, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
they experimented that and got shot down pretty quick. But so yeah, overall it's a great album. Um, just some songs that make no sense and all that, but still a good album.
Yeah. And it led to Slippery. So
That's right. And I think that's what the greatest thing about this. I think this song was more of an experiment on different sounds and different styles of songs. And like you said, I think it led to Slippery and what their true sound was, and they found it.
yeah,
So,
'cause there's definitely moments in this where you can hear that sound start to come through.
yeah, absolutely. So, well, anyway, I want to thank you for coming on today and taking time out of your day to talk about this album. I'll have you stay on as I end the recording, but I wanted to thank you on here for coming on to do this. It was a lot
You're
of fun.
very welcome. I
Great.
had a great time.
Okay. Thanks again, Leigh.